Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're tackling something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The demonization of women in power.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to be looking at an episode of the American History Hit podcast.
Okay.
And they're talking to historian Eleanor Herman,
Mm-hmm.
who wrote the book Off With Her Head, 3,000 Years of Demonizing Women in Power.
Wow.
So right off the bat, that title,
Yeah.
we know we're in for something crazy.
Yeah, it's striking, right? It's not just like a recent thing.
Right.
This whole demonization of women in power.
Yeah.
Like, this deep dive shows that it's been a pattern for centuries.
Right.
Across different cultures and times.
Yeah, and so the podcast episode starts by talking about the 2024 U.S. presidential election,
Okay.
specifically Kamala Harris running against Donald Trump.
Uh-huh.
And it made me think, like, haven't we seen this before?
Yeah.
Like, remember 2016 with Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
It's like we're constantly rewinding this issue.
Yeah, it feels like society just gets anxious every time.
Right.
A woman gets close to the presidency.
Right.
You know what's so threatening about a woman in the Oval Office?
Yeah.
Maybe this deep dive will help us understand those biases.
And Eleanor Herman points out
Yeah.
that Kamala Harris is dealing with sexism and racism.
Of course.
So it's an even bigger challenge.
Right. It's so important to recognize that those are interconnected
Yeah.
and create a very unique obstacle for women
Yeah.
in positions of power.
And it's not always like overt discrimination.
Right.
Herman highlights that it's sometimes like coded language.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed how comments about a woman's appearance or her tone of voice
Oh, yeah.
or even her laugh
Yeah.
become weaponized?
Yeah, it's totally a double standard.
Yeah.
What's assertive in a man is aggressive or shrill in a woman.
Right?
It's all about chipping away at a woman's authority.
Yeah. And Herman brings up some shocking examples.
Oh, really?
Imagine someone saying a male candidate doesn't have the right body to be on TV.
Yeah, you'd never hear that.
You never hear that, right?
Right.
But those types of comments are constantly directed at women.
It's like they're reducing her whole persona
Yeah.
to just her appearance or her emotional state,
Yeah.
not her ideas or qualifications.
And there's this powerful quote from Patricia Schroeder,
Okay.
who was a former congresswoman.
Mm-hmm.
That really sums it up.
Okay. What is it?
She said, "Women who sleep around in this city are called sluts. Men are called senators."
Wow, that says it all.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really shows the hypocrisy,
Right.
how female sexuality is used to discredit them, but men's behavior is ignored or even celebrated.
And this isn't just an American thing.
Right.
Herman takes us on a tour of history,
Okay.
showing how these double standards have been around for centuries.
Wow.
She starts with Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
Roman propaganda painted her as a manipulative seductress
Mm-hmm.
who wanted to corrupt good Roman men.
Right. It's like they're reducing her accomplishments to just her sexuality.
Right.
Make her seem like a temptress and not a strategist.
Yeah.
It's a tactic that's still used today.
It makes you wonder if Cleopatra was ruling today, would she be facing the same attacks on social media?
It's scary how these patterns repeat.
Yeah.
And it really highlights how important it is to understand these patterns so
Right.
we can see them when they're happening today.
Okay, let's move on to another example.
Okay.
Anne Boleyn.
Okay.
Now, for those who need a refresher, Anne Boleyn was the second wife of King Henry VIII,
Right.
and she was a big part of the English Reformation.
Yeah.
But historically, she's painted as this power-hungry homewrecker
Right.
who seduced Henry and brought down the monarchy.
Yeah.
But Herman points out that Anne actually tried to avoid Henry's advances for a whole year.
Oh, wow.
Like, that detail gets left out, and
Yeah.
it totally dismantles that sexy vixen stereotype.
It does. And it shows that back then,
Yeah.
a woman's intelligence and ambition were threatening.
Right.
It's like they had to invent stories to make her seem less powerful.
Okay, one more example.
Okay.
Katherine the Great.
Mhm.
She was a successful ruler who expanded Russia's borders
Right.
and ushered in a golden age of culture.
Yeah.
But guess what she's most remembered for?
What?
A totally false story about how she died involving a horse.
Oh, my gosh.
It's almost comical how ridiculous it is.
It's powerful, though, right?
Yeah.
How rumors can overshadow a woman's achievements.
Right.
Like, they couldn't handle the fact that she was a brilliant leader.
Right.
So they had to come up with this outrageous story.
It's like they had to make her seem less human,
Yeah.
less capable, less threatening.
Right. And sadly,
Yeah.
that tactic is still used today.
So we've seen how these patterns play out in modern politics and throughout history.
Yeah.
But why?
Right.
Why are we still dealing with these double standards in the 21st century?
That's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Herman suggests that these negative portrayals might go back tens of thousands of years.
Wow.
Stemming from fears about women's ability to create life.
Wait, are you saying these biases are rooted in biology?
It is something that Herman explores in her book.
Okay.
She argues that this discomfort with female power
Yeah.
might be tied to anxieties about women's reproductive capabilities. It's almost like this power that men could never possess
Right.
was both revered and feared.
Yeah.
And those mixed feelings could have fueled some of those early narratives.
So it's like those ancient anxieties
Yeah.
combined with cultural narratives that painted women as dangerous,
Right.
created this perfect storm of bias
Exactly.
that we're still grappling with today.
And once those biases get ingrained in society,
Yeah.
they influence everything.
Right.
Religion, politics, even family structure.
Hmm.
You know, for centuries, these systems were designed around male leadership.
And here's another uncomfortable truth.
What's that?
Sometimes women themselves
Yeah.
participate in perpetuating these stereotypes.
It's one of the most difficult things to address. When women internalize societal norms
Right.
and judge each other harshly,
Right.
it reinforces those systems that limit their power.
So are you saying some of these biases are so ingrained
Mm-hmm.
that we might unknowingly perpetuate them even if we believe in gender equality?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's not always intentional.
Right.
We all grow up absorbing these messages from our culture.
Yeah.
It takes conscious effort to unlearn those biases.
Wow, this is a lot to process.
I know, right?
I think we need a moment to digest all of this.
Definitely.
But don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive into the demonization of women in power. Okay, so we're back for part 2 of our deep dive. And I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of processing everything we talked about.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming
It is, yeah.
to realize how deep those biases run.
Yeah. So where do you see signs of progress? What gives you hope?
Well, Eleanor Herman emphasizes that just being aware of these biases is a huge step.
Okay.
You can't really change something unless you acknowledge it, right?
That's true. Yeah, like shining a light on these assumptions we might not even realize we're making.
Right.
So how do we get better at recognizing them?
Well, one positive sign is that the media seems to be doing a better job
Okay.
of calling out sexism
Mm-hmm.
and holding people accountable.
Okay.
You see more articles challenging those double standards.
Yeah, that's true. And social media, even though it can be negative,
Right.
it can also be a tool for change.
Totally. It gives everyone a platform to
Yeah.
share their experiences and challenge those narratives.
Right. But awareness alone isn't enough.
Right.
What can we do as individuals to actively combat these biases?
Well, Herman challenges us to examine our own assumptions.
Mm.
Do we hold women leaders to different standards?
Mm.
Are we quicker to judge a woman's emotions?
Yeah.
Do we believe gossip about women in power?
Those are some tough questions.
They are.
It's easy to say, of course not, I believe in equality.
Right.
But you have to stop and think.
Mm-hmm.
If those subtle biases can sneak in.
It's about being mindful
Yeah.
of the language we use,
Right.
the assumptions we make,
Yeah.
even the way we consume media.
Right.
Are we unknowingly perpetuating those stereotypes?
Yeah. Are we giving equal weight to women's voices?
Yes.
It's like we need to constantly be checking ourselves
Yes.
and asking, why did I assume that?
Right. Or would I react the same way if this were a man?
So it sounds like it's about individual awareness, but also collective action.
Absolutely.
We have to speak up when we see those biases.
Yes. And we need systemic change, too.
Okay.
Policies that promote gender equality and empower women in leadership roles.
Right.
Create a culture that values diverse perspectives.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
It is.
Attacking the problem from all angles. It can feel daunting.
Yeah.
But are you optimistic?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
We've made progress, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
The fact that we're having these conversations,
Right.
recognizing these patterns,
Yeah.
is a sign that things are shifting.
I agree. Awareness is the first step.
It is.
And understanding the historical context
Yeah.
helps us to challenge these biases
Absolutely.
and create a more equitable world.
And it's not just about fairness for women.
Right.
It's about creating a better world for everyone.
That's so true. Societies that empower women,
Yeah.
more prosperous, more innovative, and more just.
Everyone benefits when we break down those barriers
Exactly.
and value everyone's contributions.
So what does this all mean for our listener?
Okay, well, the first thing
Yeah.
is to recognize that these biases exist,
Yeah.
even within ourselves.
Right.
We're all swimming in this sea of cultural conditioning,
Mhm.
and it takes effort to break free.
It's about being a more critical consumer of information.
Yes.
Question those narratives.
Right.
Challenge those stereotypes. Don't just accept the stories you've been told.
And remember, change starts with you, the
Yeah.
way you talk about women,
Yeah.
the way you treat women.
Yeah.
The choices you make, it all matters.
It's about making those small choices
Mhm.
that contribute to a larger shift
It's about being the change you want to see.
and supporting those organizations
Yes.
that are fighting for equality.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Right. And using your voice
Yes.
to amplify those marginalized voices.
And remember, this isn't just a women's issue.
Right.
It's about human rights.
Yeah.
It's about social justice.
Yeah.
It's about everyone having the opportunity to thrive.
Well said. This has been really enlightening.
Yes.
We've explored these biases,
Mhm.
how they manifest today,
Yeah.
and ways to challenge them.
Absolutely.
It's been a fascinating journey
It has been.
and a reminder that progress requires vigilance.
Yes, we can't get complacent.
This conversation needs to continue.
It does.
We've only scratched the surface.
Right.
We encourage you to explore the resources we've mentioned,
Yes. And learn more.
and most importantly, take action,
What can you do?
even small steps, to challenge those stereotypes,
Yeah.
promote equality,
Mhm.
and create a more just world.
It starts with each of us.
It does.
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
We hope this deep dive
Yeah.
has sparked some critical thinking
Yeah.
and inspired you to get involved
Absolutely.
in creating a more equitable future.
Definitely.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
So we're back. And I gotta say, after exploring all of this stuff, I'm feeling a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's kind of disheartening to see how deep these biases go.
Yeah.
Like they've shaped history and they're still influencing us
Yeah.
today.
There's something powerful about understanding where these problems come from.
Right. It's like we're seeing the roots of something that's been holding us back for so long.
It is like knowledge is power.
Yeah.
By recognizing these patterns, we can break free.
Exactly. We don't have to just accept these narratives anymore.
Right.
We can question them and challenge them and rewrite them.
And that's where the hope is.
Yeah.
We're having these conversations,
Right.
examining these biases and demanding better.
Yeah. It's a shift.
It's like we're waking up and seeing things for how they really are.
It is.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
And you have to do something about it.
Right.
We can't just observe.
Right.
We have to participate in making a more just world.
So where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
What are the next steps? What does change look like?
We start by asking tough questions.
Okay.
Like, what kind of world do we want for future generations?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of leaders do we want our kids to have? What kind of ancestors do we want to be?
Those are some big questions.
They are.
It's about deciding what impact we want to have.
Right. Do we continue this cycle or do we work to create a world where everyone can thrive?
It's about challenging sexism
Yes.
everywhere we see it.
In conversations.
In the media,
politics.
we have to hold each other accountable.
It's about supporting women in leadership.
Yeah.
Amplifying their voices.
Right.
Celebrating their achievements.
Create a culture where women can be ambitious and powerful.
Yes. And successful without those stereotypes.
And teaching our kids about gender equality.
Yes, boys and girls.
Right. It's about respect.
Right. Planting those seeds for the future.
And remembering that equality benefits us all.
Absolutely.
When we empower women,
Yes.
we create a society that's more prosperous.
More representative.
Right.
So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What kind of world do you want?
Yeah.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
The choice is yours.
Your actions shape the future.
They do.
We hope this deep dive has given you some new perspective
Yeah.
and inspired you to be a part of change.
Create a more equitable world.
Thanks for joining us.